The rain was a relentless drum against the windows of our Chicago apartment, mirroring the frantic beat of my heart. Barnaby, a 43-year-old architect, had always found solace in the city's rhythm, but tonight it felt like a mocking soundtrack to my unraveling life. My wife, Winifred, a vibrant and ambitious lawyer, was late. Again. It had become a pattern, a subtle shift in our carefully constructed reality. Late nights at the office, she'd explain, her voice a little too bright, her eyes avoiding mine. I wanted to believe her, I truly did. We had built a life together over 15 years, a life filled with shared dreams and quiet moments of contentment. But the unease had taken root, a persistent weed in the garden of our marriage. Tonight, however, was different. A forgotten phone charger lay on the kitchen counter, Winifred's phone connected to it, buzzing softly with a new email. I hesitated, a battle raging within me. Trust, loyalty, the sanctity of privacy, these were the cornerstones of our relationship. But the nagging doubt, the gnawing suspicion overwhelmed my principles. I picked up the phone, my hands trembling slightly. The email was from someone named Bertram, a name I didn't recognize. The subject line read, "Tonight." My breath hitched as I opened it. The words swam before my eyes, each sentence a dagger twisting in my gut. "I can't wait to see you tonight, my darling. The thought of your touch keeps me going through these endless meetings. Meet me at the Azure Lounge at 8. I've booked our usual table." The world tilted on its axis. The blood drained from my face, leaving me cold and clammy. Bertram, the Azure Lounge, our usual table. The words reverberated in my skull, each syllable a hammer blow to my soul. I sank into a chair, the phone slipping from my grasp. The rain intensified as if the heavens themselves were weeping for my shattered innocence. How could she? Winifred, my Winifred, the woman I adored, the woman I had pledged my life to, was betraying me. And with someone I didn't even know. The next few hours were a blur of disbelief and mounting rage. I paced the apartment, replaying every conversation, every interaction, searching for clues I had missed, signs I had ignored. Had I been so blind, so naive? Had our love been a lie, a carefully constructed facade that concealed a dark secret? As 8 p.m. approached, a cold resolve settled within me. I wouldn't confront her with the email. I wouldn't give her the opportunity to lie, to manipulate, to twist the truth. I needed to see it for myself, to witness the betrayal with my own eyes. I grabbed my coat and headed out into the rain-slicked streets. The Azure Lounge was a trendy bar on the north side, a place we had frequented in our younger days. Now it felt like a descent into hell. I arrived at 8:15, my heart pounding in my chest. I stood across the street, hidden in the shadows, and watched. The neon sign of the Azure Lounge pulsed with a cruel irony, and then I saw her. Winifred, radiant in a scarlet dress, her laughter echoing in the night air. She was sitting at a table with a man, a tall, handsome man with a confident smile. Bertram. They were holding hands, their fingers intertwined, their eyes locked in an intimate gaze. A wave of nausea washed over me. The scene before me was surreal, a nightmare unfolding in real time. I wanted to scream, to lash out, to tear them apart. But I remained frozen, paralyzed by the sheer magnitude of the betrayal. I watched them for what felt like an eternity, their laughter and whispered conversations a constant torment. I saw him lean in and kiss her, a lingering, passionate kiss that confirmed my worst fears. It was over. Everything we had built, everything we had shared, was reduced to ashes in that single, devastating moment. I turned and walked away, the rain washing away the tears that streamed down my face. The city lights blurred into a meaningless kaleidoscope of color. I had no destination, no plan, no future. The next morning I consulted with a divorce lawyer, a sharp, no-nonsense woman named Millicent. I explained the situation, the email, the rendezvous at the Azure Lounge. Millicent listened patiently, her expression impassive. "We have grounds for a straightforward divorce," she said. "Adultery is a clear violation of marital vows. We can file immediately." I nodded numbly. The legal proceedings were a necessary formality, but they did little to ease the pain. The betrayal had cut deep, leaving a wound that felt irreparable. As the divorce progressed, I learned more about Bertram. He was a senior partner at Winifred's law firm, a notorious womanizer with a reputation for using his position to exploit younger associates. I discovered that Winifred had been working closely with him on a high-profile case, a case that could have made or broken her career. The realization hit me like a ton of bricks. It wasn't just about lust, about physical attraction. It was about ambition, about power, about using her sexuality to advance her career. I had been a stepping stone, a convenient partner who provided stability and respectability while she pursued her own selfish desires. The anger returned, stronger than ever. I wanted to expose her, to ruin her reputation, to make her pay for the pain she had inflicted, but Millicent advised against it. "Revenge is a dish best served cold," she said. "Let's focus on getting you the best possible settlement. Don't stoop to her level." I reluctantly agreed, but the desire for justice remained, a burning ember in my heart. During the discovery phase of the divorce, Millicent uncovered a series of financial irregularities. Winifred had been secretly transferring funds from our joint account into a private account in her name. She had also been using company resources for personal expenses, a clear violation of corporate ethics. Armed with this information, I confronted Winifred. She denied everything, her voice rising in indignation. "You're being ridiculous, Barnaby. These are all lies. I would never do anything to hurt you." I presented the evidence, the bank statements, the expense reports. Her face paled, her eyes darting nervously. She knew she had been caught. "Okay, fine," she admitted, her voice barely a whisper. "Maybe I made a few mistakes, but it wasn't a big deal. I was just trying to secure our future," I scoffed. "Or your future. You were planning to leave me, weren't you? You were planning to take everything and run." She didn't answer. Her silence was an admission of guilt. I decided to use the financial information to my advantage. I threatened to report her to the authorities, to expose her unethical behavior to her law firm. She panicked, begging me to reconsider. "Please, Barnaby," she pleaded. "Don't do this to me. You'll ruin my career. You'll destroy my life." "You should have thought about that before you betrayed me," I said, my voice cold and unforgiving. We reached a settlement agreement. I received a significant portion of our assets, including the apartment and a substantial alimony payment. Winifred was forced to resign from her law firm, her reputation tarnished, her career in jeopardy. It wasn't the revenge I had initially craved, but it was justice. She had paid a price for her betrayal, a price that reflected the pain she had caused. In the aftermath of the divorce, I felt lost and adrift. The life I had known was gone, replaced by a void of loneliness and uncertainty. I threw myself into my work, pouring my energy into designing new buildings, creating new spaces, building a new future. One evening, a few months after the divorce was finalized, I received a call from Bertram's wife, a woman named Willow. We had met briefly during a social event at Winifred's law firm. I remembered her as being quiet and reserved, with a gentle demeanor. "I know this is probably inappropriate," she said, her voice hesitant, "but I felt like I needed to talk to someone who understood." We met for coffee the next day. Willow told me about her own struggles, about the years of emotional neglect and infidelity she had endured at the hands of Bertram. She had suspected his affair with Winifred, but she had been too afraid to confront him. We talked for hours, sharing our stories of betrayal and heartbreak. We found solace in each other's company, a shared understanding that transcended our individual pain. Over time, our friendship deepened. We discovered a mutual love of art, of music, of long walks in the park. We began to spend more and more time together, laughing, sharing, supporting each other through the difficult days. One afternoon, as we were strolling through the Lincoln Park Zoo, Willow stopped and turned to me, her eyes filled with warmth and affection. "Barnaby," she said, "I know this might be too soon, but I can't deny how I feel. I've fallen in love with you." I was stunned. I had never considered the possibility of finding love again, not after the devastation of my divorce. But as I looked into Willow's eyes, I saw a genuine kindness, a deep empathy, a love that felt pure and true. "I've fallen in love with you too, Willow," I said, my voice trembling with emotion. We embraced, our bodies pressed together, our hearts beating in unison. In that moment, I knew that I had found something special, something real, something worth fighting for. Winifred's betrayal had shattered my world, but it had also paved the way for a new beginning. I had lost my wife, but I had gained a friend, a lover, a soulmate. I had learned that even in the darkest of times, hope can emerge, that even after the most devastating betrayal, love can blossom again. And that sometimes the greatest revenge is simply to find happiness in the face of adversity. Years later, I received an email from Winifred. She was living in a small town in Wisconsin, working as a legal assistant. She had lost her license to practice law, her career in ruins. She was alone and miserable. She apologized for her betrayal, for the pain she had caused. She admitted that she had made a terrible mistake, a mistake that had cost her everything. I read the email with a sense of detachment. I no longer felt anger, no longer felt resentment. I felt only pity. I didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. I had moved on, built a new life, found happiness with Willow. Winifred was a ghost from my past, a reminder of a painful chapter that I had finally closed. The rain still falls in Chicago, but it no longer sounds like a mocking soundtrack. It sounds like a gentle reminder of the storms I have weathered, the battles I have won, the love I have found. And for that, I am eternally grateful.